Okay, so we're back here after a short little break. So last video we actually fixed the blast code and got it working. So we can continue in doing what we were previously wanting to do, which is actually test the sentry guns really quick and then start back into working on the nuclear blast code. Now we probably won't finish the nuclear blast code today as I've only got a couple hours left in the day before I have to go do other activities such as schoolwork and, well, other things. So what we want to do is, because of how this started here, the video before this one is I wanted to just clear the test area in order to kind of just have a flat place to work with. So we've got pretty much that because the anti-plant missiles are really good at just absolutely decimating plants here. So what we want to do is I want to test a sentry gun that I've been working on for a client, and I forgot I do not have it in this pack. Let me go ahead and add it real quick. Planning is not one of my strong suits here, as you can probably tell by now. Actually, I can hit project structure from that button. And what we want to do is we just want to quickly grab this one, and we want to add the client commission mod here. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and add the armory mod as well, so that gives me, I can test that while I'm at it, because I can't really test the sentry guns without it in the first place, but you guys get the point. So we'll hit debug and we'll run that. And I didn't do any more with the JUnit test since the last one. I started looking at it, I was like, you know what, I could work on this while I'm cooking, which is what I've been doing during my break. And I was like, you know what, nobody got time for that. You guys can picture that meme perfectly. I would edit this video and insert that meme, but I got to learn how to use my editing software still. So even though I got my editing software again, so I've got Premiere, my brother actually went through the trouble of getting his keys unlocked for me. So I now have Premiere 2014 to work with, which is Adobe's video editing software. Really good. It's one of the few I actually do know how to use partially, but of course I still got a lot to learn. But yeah, I don't necessarily have time to do either, really, to be honest. But I'm going to figure out the video editing part, because editing these videos is really important to being able to insert references and stuff. So if I reference some material like, hey, this episode we did this, I can actually pop up on the screen an episode. If I reference a meme, I can throw it up on there. More importantly, I can start showing pictures of what I'm talking about. So if I start talking about some kind of physical property, I can show that via a diagram and everything else. But beyond that, yeah, I don't have time to really work on this test path entire, because what it would involve is I would run this first loop, check to make sure all 7 entries are in there properly. Then every single time we run it, I would be checking exactly what the next one would be. Considering the fact we get 123 blocks, that means I would have to check 123 position data entries, which would take me probably all day to do. It's something I need to do because I want to know that this Pathfinder works exactly how I think it works. That way there's no question of, is it going to path north, is it going to path south? Because the reality of it is it's not going to path either direction, actually. It goes in pretty much a concave spiral, pretty much around the edge of the thing. It'll just go over and over and over again. I can show this in paint actually a little better. So how this actually works is you would have a starting point, which would be here, and you would go and you would get your blocks, and it just keeps spiraling like this until it gets the full blast epicenter. That's pretty much how it works. Not exactly in that shape, but pretty close. It's closer to an onion, how an onion forms. But it's kind of hard to display those diagrams when I don't exactly have the tools necessarily to do that. But moving back into testing this, so we're going to test the sentry gun. As soon as we get that tested and figure out what's wrong with it, because it's not receiving power in the live version, we'll move on. I think what's wrong is it's just a really simple stupidity thing. Okay, so we got the turret here. Of course, it has no power. We put some ammo in it. Right, that. What I need to do is actually edit the sentry guns, mainly the block down here, to actually show if it's powered. Maybe show a power bar on it, so that way you can visually see, because this debug buff here only shows up in the dev environment. Although, as I've noted before, I'm probably going to change that. Okay, there's the client's mod. So there's a generator that can power this. This can power off a normal RF, but the generator is what I use right now because it's the only thing I've got, really. Throw some lava in here. Client also said there's a shift-click crash, although I can shift-click just fine into that. It's running perfectly fine. Wow, that doesn't make any sense. Well, I mean, it's working. I guess now I've just got to add debug code into the live version, which I'm going to do here later because that's just going to take a while. Because what I suspect is the generator is not powering this, which means either this isn't firing off the event correctly, or this isn't finding tiles correctly. Both of which are going to be really stupidly hard to debug in the live copy. And what I mean by the way the difference between dev and live is we're in the dev workspace right now, so we're running out of this right here. The live version does not use the dev workspace. It actually would use something like multi-MC here, which let me launch this up and I can show you that it is broken in the live version. So any live version is anything where you launch it normal Minecraft. So you're not running up any dev workspace, you're not compiling code in the process, you're not doing some console input. I still need to do some ray trace code for this. This doesn't actually have a particle effect. We gotta do a smoke particle effect for this, which we gotta get around to doing here. That might happen sometime this week. That's pretty much one of the last few things I've got left to do with the sentry gun, other than adding audio to it. Yeah, a few more things to add to that. Power bar is something I definitely want to put on here. Actually, you know what I might do is right above here, I'm going to render an HP and a power bar. That's going to show only for friendlies. It won't show for the enemy. So the enemy won't be able to tell how damaged your sentry is unless somebody gives it an animation for damage. Can it actually hit that zombie? No, it can. So really, you know, these trees being turned into dirt actually is an amazing way to test if the ray trace and the sentry guns is working. Anyways, we'll pop this client over, and I will show that the sentries are broken in this version. Maybe we can stare at the console real quick and see maybe what's wrong. Because here we got this. Of course, we don't got any debug info for this, and the generator does have fuel and it is running. Both of these are turned on. It does have ammo, but it will not grab the ammo. Now, if we take a look at the console, there are some packet issues going on. That's for the GUI though. Cannot build multi-block structure, tile and wrap power generator. Does this not have a multi-block? No, it's there. I click each one, it works. If I hit break, it breaks. Although I probably shouldn't have done that though, because now I have to stick lava back in it. Let me see if I can get the shift click bug to pop up. No, it's not having a problem. I wonder if he's shift clicking other things into it. No. Oh, there we go. We found the crash with shift click. So it's when it's shift clicking to the toolbar is when it crashes. Yeah, and I've already noted about this bug. Okay, so I'm going to probably fix that here a bit later. But yeah, as you can saw, it wasn't powering up, and the way we're going to have to debug that is I'm quite literally going to have to edit the generator inside of the dev workspace to include debug. Which basically means we're going to actually work on the sentry gun, even though I said we were probably not actually going to continue with this. Yeah, plans are not exactly a thing. So when this is running, there is an identifiable tile list. And then there's a list of tiles. So what we want to do is if is powered, we just want to do things like system.out.println generator found potential tiles to power. And then we're just going to print off what each object is. And of course we're going to indent this so we can make sure we can read it. Then we're going to just go entry, and then we'll just put the object so it'll print out how it is. And we'll do another indent here, so that way we can see what class it is. This will be class name. And then int power. Does that not return power? It does, but it returns a double. That way we can see this in the live version. We'll have to build it real quick. So what I'm going to actually have to do is I'm going to have to come over here and I'm going to have to sync the code. We're going to go added debug to generator, commit change logs, hit push, and then I'm going to have to go to the build server, which I do not at all remember what the name of it is. History. Yeah. Interestingly, you can see my history across all of my computers, which is kind of cool and kind of creepy at the same time. Pull this over here so you guys can't see all of my history. There's login for Bamboo, but it's not what I want. There's Adobe. That's the main reason I didn't want to do this, is there's a lot of stuff in here that you actually could click these links, it'll go straight to things that I'd rather not everybody have access to. You know what, we're going to do it this way. We're going to go to my Google Drive, and then work, freelancing, and there should be something in here. Here it is. Link to, there we go. What, really? Yeah. Okay, here we go. Yeah, I don't care if you guys have access to that link because you guys can't get into the server without actually having login info. But in order to test this, we're going to have to build this, and it will take a second or two to build. This is where part of the dev process is the reason why we only make builds like once a day and we only release it once a week, is that the build server can take a while to run. The longest build we've had is 2 hours. Voltage, for example, averages about 15, although we're getting that time down. Close these two. This won't take long to run though. I think he's usually running about 15-20 seconds. One thing I like about Jenkins over Bamboo is it actually will show me change logs, so they actually show what I've been doing here. So it gives you a good indication of what build does what. We'll get this, and then what we want to do is we want to flop it into our test environment. So I'm going to close this real quick so I can save on RAM. I'll have to fix the shift click bug here later. I'm not going to focus on that because as soon as we figure out what's wrong with this, I want to bounce right into working on the nuke again so we can get like radiation particles done maybe today. I'm going to do a really simplified version of radiation just for testing. The plan is to build a much more complicated radiation system because I want to do things like making radiation stick to stuff. So if you go into a radiated area and you say loot a chest, all the contents of that chest are going to be irradiated. So that way there are severe repercussions against using nukes. You can't just hit somebody with a nuke and expect to steal his stuff because now his stuff is radiated and it will slowly kill you, so you'll have to decontaminate it, which will be something we'll add later. Decontamination, though, would be pretty simplistic. You just wash it off. Unless it's organic, and then you're fucked. Come on, Taz. No whining at me. My dog just woke up again and is trying to get my attention. No, go lay down. I'll play with you later. No, she thinks I'm playing with her now, unfortunately. Bribe the dog with dog treats. Okay, so our build actually ran here. We can now download it. Keep the file. What I want to do is open this up. So instance folder. This is something we don't do enough of, unfortunately, is actually testing mods. I'm trying to actually get some testers here to go through and make sure a lot of these mods are functional. ICBM, for example, still needs heavily tested. We released a Sentry Gun mods without them even being tested. This is the first time we've really done that with a mod. Usually always the first version of a mod that goes up on Curse has been tested, and then lately that hasn't been the case because a lot of us have run out of time. I mean, look at D-Mod, I mean, he's trying to help us out right now, but he's working on 2-3 jobs now. I got respect for him, man. He can keep up with that and still manage to put several hours in to help us all out. Okay, where'd the Sentry Gun go? Let's start right there. Okay, so we should be able to look at the console. We're not really getting anything. Is this even running? Yeah, it's consuming fuel. Oh, I'm opening the wrong thing. Hit T on that so I can look at the console. We're not seeing anything here. I'm pretty sure we just built the version with the changes we wanted. Yeah, build 17. Oh, no changes. Did I not hit push? That's the wrong mod. I just pushed to the wrong. I think I did. Hit push. Cool thing is I can go over here to voltage real quick and I can actually fix it. Test path. Change this to sync. Update message. Hit push. Force push. Cool. I actually am really liking Get Kraken for just that ability. So yeah, we just pushed that up and I wasn't paying attention. I pushed to the wrong repo and then hit build. It kind of happens. I'm still getting used to Get Kraken and I'm still getting used to the whole thing. Then again, I kind of did this with Source Tree as well, so it's more of a me problem rather than actually an issue with this. So we got to close this down, we got to wait for it to build, and then we can test again. It won't take long to build. This is where this editing software would come in handy right now, is I could crop out all these delay parts. Then again, I think a lot of the people that do editing, they do voiceovers rather than actually talking while recording. So they'll record what they want to do, then they'll come back through and they'll voice over themselves. And I've actually noticed when they do it as well, because what they're talking about doesn't quite synchronize up with their actions. This is more notable in a few people of the MechWarrior videos I've seen where they'll be talking about what they're doing, and they'll be talking in the past tense rather than the present. And that's a really good indication that somebody has voiced over. Where this is pretty much 100% live. Although I may move to voiceover down the road just because it might actually play out a little better. Okay, here we go. We got our actual changelog, so we hit this. Keep files. Let me close this, by the way. So we got that, and what we want to do is we just want to drag this one of these versions down here. And build AT is what we want, and we hit play. I think my dog's actually begging for more food. It's usually what she does when she does this. I think she smells the big pile of chicken that I cooked here recently. What? Okay, apologies for the barking. So yeah, I was right, my dog was fed, although I didn't actually feed her though. She was fed this morning and she'll get fed again right before I actually eat dinner. And for those who are like, oh, you should feed your dog 3 times a day, I would if the dog was not at risk of diabetes as it is. Okay, still not getting what we're at. Okay, so it's not finding any tile generator nearby, so it is something to do with the sentry guns not reporting their positioning data. Crap. I'm not sure exactly how to fix this. So it's not the generator that's the problem. It's the tile maps. It's really weird though. Okay, if we go down through Taz, come on. You can't do that and sit there and whine behind me. Cool thing is that will print out the actual objects. I'm going to leave that how it is. Could it be the area of effect? I doubt it is the area of effect. You know what? Let's actually check the configs. So I'm going to go up here, config, BBM, or Jujo's mod. Power range is 100. Should be no reason it will go to 0. What we can do is we can really quickly just add more debug tuning to this, so I can see what the area of effect is. We go inside of... That way that'll show us the area so we can confirm if we're having a problem with the area being wrong. This is the part where it would more than likely fail. Because how this is supposed to work is every tile should add itself to the registry and should remove itself from the registry. Unless we're having some kind of issue with how the system is executing. We're going to do this. If engine.running as dev, then we'll do engine.logger.info, added tile to radar, or added tile to tile map. This is an event.tile. We could have any problems where it's trying to get the tile at the location, but it's failing. Let me really quickly make sure there's no rounding errors in the math here. It is doing a position event, and position events are integers, so there is probably no rounding math, especially if it's grabbing the tile's location exactly. Yeah, that all looks good. And then down here, we want to go, okay, remove tile from tile map. And we'll go ahead and add that debug in there. This is part of Volt's engine, so we'll actually do this as well. This is added more debug to generator, commit, push, and then we'll wait for that to push, and we'll go push Volt's engine as well. I'll have to go build Volt's engine additionally, which is going to take some time. While we wait for that to build, we'll go ahead and start working on the nuclear blast. Added debug to tile map. I probably have to do a few more commands because this is a little weird that the whole thing's failing. Anyways, I'm going to launch debug only here, and then what I'm going to go over here is I'm going to hit build all, or build now on that, and then I'm going to go to our build server, and I'm going to start the build for Volt's engine. This one's going to take a while to run because this is, needless to say, not the quickest. So this will be a few minutes. At least my dog stopped whining, although the reason she stopped whining is she's busy, like, licking her own fur. I don't comprehend dogs sometimes. What? No. You were being so peaceful a couple minutes ago. Okay, so that'll build. So surprisingly, it's this is actually going to run pretty quickly. It's a 2-minute build this time. It all depends on what kind of is going on. Dmod has done an amazing job at reducing the amount of build time it takes by caching a lot of stuff and getting it to do pretty much its thing. Still does a lot that it probably doesn't need to do, for example, rebuilding assets and rebuilding class paths. Anyways, we'll go ahead and test the nuclear blast at least once here before we go back to testing the sentry gun. I also kind of have this hypothesis that the reason my dog whines at me as much during this middle of the day is because usually I'm asleep at this time. and she's not accustomed to me being awake, so she's taking full advantage of it. Needless to say, the dog gets let out a lot more than normal when I'm awake during the day. And each time I walk up to go get tea or anything, the dog gets to go outside and run around, which she absolutely loves, even though she keeps laying in the dirt and rolling around in it. Needless to say, I also have to bathe her because of that. So we'll get this loaded up and test our nuclear blast. See if it's going to actually run better than what. Why did that? Well, I get no breaks on this. One bug after another. Okay, if tile doesn't equal null. This is a temp fix, to be honest. Why did the tile go null though? Let me open this back up and scroll up. Null point exception at read set sentry gun. Okay, that's a packet read error. Oh, look at all that spam we're getting. That's another packet read error. I think this might be just a client-side problem because it's what's going on here. So that tells me the sentry is null, so I'm going to go, okay, if this dot sentry doesn't equal null, which is not supposed to happen, but it does occasionally. So we're having a read description packet problem. So set entity, and we get the entity ID, which is then going to go if entity ID is greater than 0, grab entity sentry. Then what we do is we're setting sentry entity to entity, then we're setting host to equal this. I think there's probably a few issues with the read packets here. It's a lot of just client-side problems still. The more we scroll up here. Still a lot of client-side read issues. So those are packets failing to read. I'm still curious why our sentry is going to null. So read description packet. So it comes in, we get our entity ID, we then set our entity. We then come back through. We set the sentry entity. Of course, at this stage in the cycle, I believe the sentry is still null. Means we're going to have to do a few things here. Set sentry stack, stack this equals stack this, sentry data, get sentry data, sentry equals new sentry. Okay, so that's going to set sentry entity, which is then going to set the sentry to our sentry. We want to get sentry at this point, which isn't going to do anything for us, but it means what we need to do is if ever we set the sentry in here, we need to make sure we're updating the entity. Some reason when we're reading, we're getting like an out of order operation problem here, where it's reading the object So setting our entity at this point. Set sentry stack. So I'm going to go set sentry stack. And we need kind of a method, public void set sentry. This would be just pretty much sentry. There's no real workaround of this. This dot sentry equals sentry. And we want to go if sentry entity doesn't equal null. Then we want to go sentry entity dot set sentry to sentry. That way we can call this from here, and that ensures that we don't have a problem. And then we can also do this real quick. We can go if sentry doesn't equal null. Actually needs to be like that. And we want to go else. Actually, we don't want to go else there. We want to go else inside here. Then that way we can remove it. And then we can change this to set sentry to null. Do that real quick. Yeah, that'll work. That'll get us an update, and then what we want to do is we're going to put this down here, down where we're going to call get sentry at, so that way they're next to each other. And that should solve that run problem. Go ahead and run it again, and hopefully we don't crash again. Debugging for you. Looks like our new version of Bolts Engine was built. So I'm going to go ahead and download that, and our new version of this should have been built too. Here we go, version 19, downloaded 19. Keep both of these files, open this up, put this over here. Then we want to delete Volts Engine and Mojuju's mod. Toss that over there, and then toss it over there. That should give us the debug we need, so we can go ahead and launch this up. If you guys think it's pretty bad, I'm running two of these. A while ago, or not a while ago, a couple years ago, back when I did modding even more seriously than I do it now, I would be running maybe like 6 clients at a time. Mainly by mistake, but I used to do it. That was back when Minecraft was light enough that you actually could do it. Each iteration we go forward is becoming worse and worse for the runtime of Minecraft. Okay. Now what I should see in the console, still not finding any tiles. The bounding box is perfectly fine. So it's not this. So we're going to go ahead and break the generator so it stops spamming my chat. And what we want to do is we want to see what happens when we add that. Null point exception, set sentry. Okay, so we're having problems with that null point we were experiencing here as well. I'm not seeing anything about the tile radar. So there's something wrong with this. So at least we've discovered our bug though. So I'm going to go ahead and stop trying to debug this here, because I know what's wrong with it, but it's going to take me a while to probably fix it. And we're going to go back to just working on the nuclear blast and fixing whatever these small issues we keep finding. But it's these two events are not firing, which could be for any number of reasons. I need to put some here. And actually, yeah, we'll do this. Then we'll go like that. And then we'll do something like this. Error, something tried to add a null tile to the map. And there was the new runtime exception. Because we'll play around with this here later. That's debug I should have had down there, because that could be the other option, is that whatever's calling this could be passing in bad values. And then the next thing we got to do is we got to figure out if the instance is being registered properly, which it should be. Yeah, it's being registered in the engine. And then these should be some of my own events, so these should be fine. Now what could be happening is these could not be firing correctly. And that might actually be the problem. Oh, actually, you know what? We might need these. Oh, here we go. Yeah, the wrappers are calling this. So we should get these just fine. Weird. Oh well. Let's see if our patches to the Sentry have fixed some of the issues. Yeah, that fixed it. Okay, so our Sentry gun is actually functional again. But we want to go work on the nuclear blast because, well, spending too much time working on the Sentry gun, it was, well, going to take away too much time from working on other things. That's an anti-grav. Where's the nuke at? Ender blocks. Of course, these are spawner eggs. I should add a search bar to this. Yeah, that is a nuke. I don't know why I was thinking of something else. Okay, so we want to go find a spot we can make a hole without messing everything up over there. And we'll just shoot right there. Oh yeah, we're getting much faster response time out of that. So fixing our Pathfinder has actually made a difference. We still have some issues with water. But the crater is quicker. Let's check our FPS. I'm not having really any FPS issues from it. By the way, I did drop the max size of the missile. That's the reason why the crater is not that big. And it's now I think a 20 radius. Or it's a 10 radius by default, which means it's going to, by default, 5, and it's 5 times whatever this is. So this is 22 blocks, which is, yeah, that looks like 22 blocks. So that's not too bad. Now we just got radiation to this, and yeah, we're pretty good. So I'm going to go ahead and end this video here while I plan out how we're going to do radiation, and then I'll be back.